welcome. If you're looking for a quick, but still really thorough understanding of the upcoming Arsenal versus Crystal Palace game, well, you're in the right place.
That's right. We know you want the key info without wading through tons of raw data.
Exactly. And today we're diving into a fascinating analysis generated by the Gambler's Ruin Project. It's powered by SmartBet AI technology.
Yeah, and this AI, it's pretty clever. It crunches numbers from all sorts of places, historical results, team stats, advanced predictive models. Basically, it gives us a probabilistic forecast for this Premier League fixture.
So think of this as a shortcut, yeah. A way to get straight to the factors that might actually shape this match on April 23rd.
Precisely. Our mission here is to unpack what this AI report is telling us.
Okay, let's get started. The match itself. Arsenal versus Crystal Palace.
Correct. And the details are Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. Kickoff is set for 8 p.m. British summertime.
And it's at the Emirates Stadium in London. What about the weather? Sometimes that plays a part.
Looks like it'll be mostly cloudy. Temperature around 51 degrees Fahrenheit, so, a bit cool.
Uh-huh.
There's a northeasterly wind expected, about 6 miles per hour, but gusts could get up to 18 miles per hour.
So a little breezy, maybe?
Could be. Humidity's fairly high, 73%.
Yeah.
But importantly, there's a low chance of rain. Cloud cover is almost total, like 99%. But visibility is good, about 7 miles.
So probably not a massive weather impact on the game itself, no?
Doesn't look like it, no. Seems pretty standard, really.
Right. Now, on to something that almost always has an impact. Injuries and suspensions. Who's missing for Arsenal? The report mentions quite a few.
Yeah, it's a significant list for Arsenal. Let's see. Defender Nuno Tavares is out, aiming for a May 9th return. Jorginho, the midfielder, abdomen issue, may be back May 3rd.
Okay.
Goalkeeper Karl Heinz, shoulder, could be back quite soon, actually, maybe April 26th. Ricardo Calafiori, another defender, knee injury, also looking at around May 3rd.
That's already 4, and there are more.
Oh, yes. Kai Havertz, forward, thigh problem, maybe May 25th. Then there's Gabriel, the defender, also a thigh issue, but he looks like a longer-term one, possibly July 14th.
Oof.
Rice Nelson, forward, thigh, aiming for June 1st. Takeru Tomiyasu, defender, knee, that's a really long one, potentially October. And Gabriel Jesus, forward, knee injury too. Expected return is way off in November 2025.
Wow. That's a lot of key players, especially defensively and up front.
Yeah.
That has to factor into the AI's thinking.
Absolutely. And Crystal Palace have issues too, though maybe not quite as extensive. Chris Richards, defender, he's suspended, picked up a red card. He'll be back around May 5th.
Oh, definitely out for this one.
Definitely. Then C. Umar Dakour, midfielder, knee injury, targeting June 1st. Chadi Riyad, another defender, has a really serious cruciate ligament injury. Looks like he's out until January 2026.
Oh, wow. That's tough.
Yeah. And finally, Rob Holding, defender, listed with an other issue, and there's actually no return date specified for him yet.
Okay, so both teams dealing with significant absences, though Arsenal's list is certainly longer. How does the SmartBet AI actually, use this information?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. It doesn't just count the injuries. It feeds them into its models. It uses a kind of hybrid approach. For predicting goals, it relies on something called Poisson regression.
Poisson regression.
Yeah.
Right, that's for count data, like goals.
Exactly. And then for predicting the actual outcome, win, lose, or draw, it uses several machine learning classifiers, things like random forest, XGBoost, and an MLP neural network.
Okay, so different tools for different parts of the prediction. What kind of inputs do these models use beyond just the injuries?
Quite a lot, actually. It uses bootstrapped Poisson models, which basically help estimate the likely range of goals, not just a single number. It uses dynamic ELO ratings.
ELO ratings, like in chess, they go up and down based on results.
Precisely. But here, they're also adjusted for those injuries we talked about, so it reflects current team strength more accurately.
I see. So a team with lots of injuries would have its ELO rating dip a bit.
Potentially, yes. It also looks at contextual features. Recent form, naturally expected goals, for and against, home or away advantage, the injury count itself, goal efficiency, how good teams are at converting chances, and even the betting market odds.
So it takes the bookies' views into account, too.
It does. And these machine learning models are trained on historical data, using techniques to handle data imbalances and optimize their performance. It even uses fuzzy matching to make sure team names line up correctly across different data sources.
Sounds quite comprehensive. Let's maybe unpack a couple of those models. You mentioned ELO ratings.
Yeah.
What are the specific ratings for Arsenal and Palace right now, according to this AI?
Okay, so for Arsenal, the injury-adjusted ELO rating is calculated at 1691.01,
Right.
and for Crystal Palace, it's 1543.66.
So a noticeable gap there. The AI definitely sees Arsenal as the stronger side based on that metric.
Yes, that's the reflection from the ELO system.
And how does that, along with form and injuries and everything else, translate into the Poisson regression goal predictions?
Well, the standard Poisson model takes all those factors form, strength via ELO, home advantage, odds, injuries, and predicts the likely goals. For this match, it predicts Arsenal scoring about 1.89 goals,
Okay, nearly 2.
and Crystal Palace scoring about 1.23 goals.
So closer to 1. Leaning towards Arsenal, but maybe not a huge goal difference predicted on average.
On average, yes. But averages can be misleading, right? That's why they do the bootstrap version.
Ah, right, the one that runs it thousands of times to get a range.
Exactly. Simulating it 1,000 times gives a better sense of uncertainty. For Arsenal's home goals, the mean prediction is 1.90, but the 95% confidence interval is pretty wide, between 0 and 5 goals.
0 to 5. Okay, so it wouldn't be shocking if they scored 3 or 4 or even none based on that range.
Correct. And for Crystal Palace's away goals, the mean is 1.30, with a 95% confidence interval between 0 and 4 goals.
Similar range, 0 to 4. So, again, while 1 goal is most likely for Palace, scoring 2 or 3 isn't outside the realm of possibility, according to the model.
Precisely. It quantifies that uncertainty.
The report also mentions some Poisson model summaries. Looks a bit technical, but is there a simple takeaway? Like, what factors did the model find most predictive for goals in this case?
Yeah, without getting lost in the stats.
Hmm.
Basically, for Arsenal's home goals, things like the betting market's probability of a home win and the probability of both teams scoring, BTTS, were significant predictors in the model.
Okay, so what the market thinks matters.
It seems so. And for Crystal Palace's away goals, the market probability of them winning, their typical away goals scored, and their ELO rating were important factors.
Interesting. So market odds and underlying team strength metrics seem key for the goal predictions. Now, what about the models that predict the actual win-loss draw outcome? Let's start with random forest.
Okay, random forest. This model aggregates predictions from lots of decision trees. Its prediction for this match outcome is a draw.
A draw, okay. And how good is this model usually?
The report states its classification accuracy, based on testing against past results, is about 0.62 or 62%.
62%. Decent, but not amazing. What about the next one, XGBoost?
XGBoost, it's another type of machine learning model, uses gradient boosting, and interestingly, it also predicts a draw for this match.
Another prediction for a draw. What's its accuracy?
Slightly lower than random forest, actually, around 58% accuracy based on the historical testing data provided.
Okay, so 2 models, both pointing towards a draw, with accuracies around 60%. That's noteworthy. What about the third one, the neural network?
Right, the MLP-NN multi-layer perceptron neural network. This one's a bit different. Tries to learn more complex patterns. Its prediction is actually for a home win, an Arsenal victory.
Ah, so a different outcome. Does it have a better track record?
Well, according to the report, its accuracy was a bit lower again, around 51%, so only just better than a coin flip on past data.
So the 2 models with slightly better reported accuracy predict a draw, while the less accurate one predicts an Arsenal win. That does paint a picture of uncertainty, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows why relying on just one model can be risky. You get different perspectives.
And there was one more method mentioned, the Monte Carlo simulation, based on the goal predictions.
That's right. They ran 10,000 simulations of the match based on those Poisson goal distributions we talked about earlier.
10,000 times.
Yeah.
What was the single most common scoreline that came up in all the simulations?
The most frequent result across those 10,000 runs was Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 1.
1-1, which lines up perfectly with the draw predictions from the random forest and XGBoost models.
Exactly. It provides another piece of evidence pointing towards a potential stalemate, or at least a very close game.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up then. We've taken a deep dive into this SmartBet AI analysis for Arsenal versus Crystal Palace on April 23rd. We've covered the context, the injuries, which are pretty significant, especially for Arsenal.
Definitely.
And we've looked at how the AI uses various methods, from ELO ratings and Poisson regression for goals to these different machine learning classifiers for the final outcome.
And the key takeaway from those models seems to be a bit mixed, which is interesting in itself. We saw random forest and XGBoost both predicting a draw.
Right.
The MLP neural network went for an Arsenal home win, though its reported accuracy was lower. And then the big Monte Carlo simulation, looking at scorelines, found 1-1 to be the most likely outcome.
So a lot of signs pointing towards it being quite tight, possibly a draw, but an Arsenal win is certainly still on the cards according to one model.
Absolutely. And it's crucial, always, to remember these are statistical forecasts. They're based on past data and patterns. They don't guarantee anything. Football's unpredictable.
Couldn't agree more. The analysis gives us fantastic insight into the probabilities and key factors, but the real result, that gets decided on the pitch.
Exactly right. It's about understanding the likelihoods, not predicting the future with certainty.
Maybe a final thought for everyone listening to chew on. Considering we have these differing model predictions, 2 for a draw, 1 for a home win, and knowing about the injury situations, particularly Arsenal's lengthy list, what single factor do you think might end up being the most decisive element that swings the actual result of this Arsenal versus Crystal Palace match? Something to mull over before kickoff.